So everyone thinks of Julia Child, I think, when we think of particularly French cooking. But I have always loved Julia Child. One of my dreams is to actually go through the Art of French Cooking book that she wrote. I finally got both volumes of the book, and hopefully I will do that one day. But so our next recipe is inspired by one that she did. We've been kind of laughing all day today because I call them crepes. I am from South Texas, so we often, have our own little pronunciation of things. So crepes, however you want to say it. We've actually made these ahead of time, but this is going to be a super easy recipe. We're going to make a couple of the. There are lots of ways that you can do that. So we're going to make the crepes in just a moment, but we're going to make a couple of different fillings, put those to the side, and then put them all together. But you can make these for dessert. You can make them as a savory dish, and that's kind of the wonderful part of them, is that they're so versatile. First, we're going to do a chicken, spinach, and mushroom with a little bit of Gruyere cheese. So we actually made our batter ahead of time, and the reason for that is you have your recipe in here. It's a super simple recipe, but it actually needs to rest for just a couple of minutes. So it has eggs in it, all-purpose flour. This batter actually has a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt in it. You can leave the pepper and salt out if you're making a dessert version. Tonight you're going to get strawberries with pepper because we forgot to leave it out. But so you can do it either way. We're going to give it just a little bit of butter. And you want to cook these. One thing that we kind of forget sometimes is that recipes like this really need to cook on a lower temperature. You don't want to cook them too fast. So we want to cook them a little low. On this particular stove, it's going to be a little bit harder to get an even pour because normally I would move it around in the pan. But we're going to try our best here without it turning off. But you want to kind of give it a, I know it's going to turn off anyway. Give it a swirl around. We want these to be really thin. So we're going to kind of let this cook just a little bit, and then we're going to flip it over, and then we'll do some fillings for them.
Just because maybe the Julia Child. So you see that they have a movie, right?
Yes.
And she was kind of bad in that. It was really good. She kicked
Yes,
butt.
I have to tell you, one of the reasons I love her so much is, and I think why a lot of people love her, is that she really didn't let it bother her whenever, and that's kind of one of the reasons that I chose her. Listen, things are not perfect when you're cooking. A lot of times when you're doing a cooking show, things don't work out, and so those things get edited out. And I loved the fact that when she did things, she would just kind of let it happen and then move along. And that, we kind of have to do that a lot sometimes. Like this one is not loving having to do this over here, so we're probably going to make quite a few of them over there. But, yeah, so sometimes, like with everything else, it just doesn't quite work out the way we want it to. And we just kind of figure it out, right? And that was just such a endearing quality of her. But things that I also found so admirable about her is that I have often worked in industries that are male-dominated, and I think a lot of women go through that. And when she did a lot of her training in France, and when she went to France, it was very much a male industry. The chefs were mostly male, and she really had to work very hard to gain respect from the French cooks over there. So, and she really did. She worked very hard, and she got to a point where they really came to see her for the hard work that she had done, and that she really was a good chef. But I always found it kind of endearing as well that she just kind of, made it work. When you're cooking these, you want to get them really thin. So you'll see, I'm going to pull this up so you can really see that it's a very thin batter. Your batter should be, it should look like a thinned out pancake batter. So if you were to put it up on the back of your spoon, you put it through, pull your finger through there, it should still be kind of a coating, but it's not going to be a thick batter. So this particular type of batter is very thin. And we're going to throw the second one away too. But that's okay. We'll make some over there so that you guys can have some to try. And in the meantime, we're going to make, this part of that Julia Child's Make It Work. Sometimes her cooking shows were unintentionally funny. Because, the nature of cooking is that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and that's really just true in life, right? But she really just kind of lived life to its fullest, and she worked really hard to be the best at her craft. And I really love all of the work that she did. So we're going to chop up this chicken just a little bit. This is just a rotisserie chicken. So we try to think of some things that would be easy for you guys to get. Rotisserie chicken, you can make your own chicken. You can use a rotisserie chicken. That's what we're going to use today. We're actually using a little bit of rotisserie chicken. And normally, I talk to you guys about using different cutting boards for meat and vegetables. In this case, this chicken is already cooked and everything that's on this board is going to be cooked. So we're going to worry about it a little bit less than we normally do. But normally I really want you to stick to only having meats on one cutting board and then only having your vegetables on another one. And that's just a food safety issue. We always want to make sure, particularly with raw meats, that you're keeping them separate. All right, a little more butter on there. Spinach first. And let that wilt down a little bit. And then over here, I'm going to put the mushrooms. Now, here's a little tip when it comes to mushrooms. Mushrooms don't seem to have a lot of liquid in them, but they actually do. So you don't want to crowd your mushrooms. And what I mean by that is don't put too many on the pan at a time, because then you just end up with mushroom soup rather than sauteed mushrooms. And we really want these to get just a little bit of color on them, not a lot, but just a little. And so we're going to let that kind of cook down for a second, let those mushrooms get all happy. So see, we've got our wilted spinach, our mushrooms are starting to get a little bit of color on them. I'm going to move those over to the side, and we're going to add some chicken in there. And really, we're just heating this up at this point. We're not really doing cooking because we're using pre-made ingredients. We've already chopped everything up, so this is a super simple recipe that you can make in your dorm room. If you like a lot of spinach, I like a lot of spinach in mine, so I would probably put a little extra. But this is one of those where you can kind of decide how much you want of each ingredient. And then after that heats up just a little, we'll add the cheese in. Yeah, that's fine. We have quite a few women in farming around here. We have, like I said, we have Jen LaMonica, but we have a lot of women in bakeries around here.
One person who I think is notable, if we're talking about the James Beard Award, is Cookie Till.
Oh, yes.
So
That's right.
if you've been to Stephen Cookies and Margate, they won the James Beard Award, I think 2 or 3 years ago. And she's kind of like a reverse farm to table person, because probably, I would say like 5 years ago, she also started an organic farm in EHT, Reed's Farm. And now the vegetables that are cropped at Reed's are basically like becoming ingredients for the restaurant in Margate, but then also her little bakery in Ventnor. So yeah, it's cool, and it's great food, and it's also like a classic American cuisine, and it's just like comfort food that's done really well.
It's not going to be the most beautiful fold, but that's okay. We're gonna work it out. So we're going to take our chicken and spinach, and then we're going to take a little bit of our Gruyere cheese. And there are a couple of different ways you can do this. You could either roll it or you could fold it. We're going to do a little combination of the two because this is not the prettiest crepe that we've ever had. But we're going to kind of roll it over. And like I said, it's not the prettiest crepe, but that's okay, right? We're still going to get to try some, and it's going to be yummy, so we're going to run with it. A little extra Gruyere cheese, because who doesn't love more cheese, right? And then we'll cut that up. We're going to give it a little bit of our fresh parsley, just to make it pretty. There we go. All right, so that's our chicken and spinach. When it comes to your sweet applications, we have, this is probably the most simple recipes, and I love this because you can be super creative. We're gonna add some whipped cream cheese. I like whipped cream cheese. You don't have to use whipped cream cheese. You can just use just a regular cream cheese softened. You do want it to be softened. So I use the whipped just because it's a little bit lighter. It has a little more crepe feel to it, in my opinion. We're going to give it a little bit of honey. I've given you on your recipe cards some ideas of different things that you can put, but there's no specific recipes, because this is where I really want you to get creative and decide and put some things in there that you like, things that sound good to you. So we're going to give it a tiny bit of vanilla. And by a tiny bit, I mean about 1/8 of a teaspoon. Because you don't want it to get an alcohol vanilla taste to it. So we're just going to give it a little bit. We're just going to kind of spread it over. We actually are going to fold this one. It's a little bit prettier. We are going to fold this one. We're going to do a bit of a fold. And then we're going to give it some fresh berries. You could actually do the entire crepe. We're not going to on this one.
And it doesn't have to be a breakfast. Crepes is not a breakfast thing, right?
No, this could be dessert. This could be breakfast. This could be kind of whatever you want it to be. When you go to make them, keep in mind that your first one or two of them are not going to be beautiful. It just happens. It's just the way it is. We're going to fold that in half.
Oh, okay.
And then we're going to fold it again. This one's kind of big. We wouldn't normally make it this big, but that's okay. We're going to make this one kind of big. And we're going to give this a little bit of powdered sugar on top. So normally I would make this a little bit prettier, but you know what? Keeping in mind, you might not have all the tools in your dorm room, so we're going to give it a little bit of powdered sugar here. You could drizzle honey on this. You could put more berries on it. We're going to put some more berries on the side. Because I like a lot of berries on mine, and it does just kind of give it a little something. So there are a couple of different ways that you can, I have on the recipe card, I've put a few different ways that you can make these. So when it comes to dessert or breakfast, either way, you could do sauteed bananas with Nutella is a really good option. You could do peanut butter and jelly. You could do the cream cheese with berries. You could do strawberries with a cheesecake, cream cheese. So lots of different ways that you can do this. It's something that really lends itself to quite a few different options. So that's why I like them, and one of the reasons that I chose this. There are lots of Julia Child recipes that I could choose, but I just thought that one was kind of fun and something that we could make a lot of different ways.